I don't. I mean, I get what you're saying, man. It's going to be hard for anybody
Yeah.
to beat Donald Trump
And
if he runs again.
and Stephanie just said the White House progressively ages every candidate. And that is true. I remember when Barack went in, he had the nice black Caesar. Like the first press conference, this shit was great. Like, yeah, Joe ain't got enough room for for that age, man. But here's the thing. That's also kind of scary is now, man. And I was just telling a group of my fraternity brothers that this week is if you actually sit down and listen to like the news reports and Dr. Fauci, who's Dr. Fauci, who's giving us these reports and stuff, it changes so much that it's hard, man. Because like one day he was on there, and I'm not telling you what I heard, I'm telling you what I saw. Mm-hmm. He's on the news and he's like, "Oh, I do not anticipate another lockdown because blah blah blah." He comes back 2 days later like, we got to start preparing for the lockdown. It's like, damn, how old is Fauci? Is he too old to be doing this too?
Well, with that said, I think, and I'm gonna give him a crush to stand on. And I'm not, I hear people talking about whatever. I think the one thing more than anything that people need to pay attention to and be very cognizant of is that we're dealing with science. You know what I'm saying? We're not dealing with conjecture. We're not dealing with, I'm not shitting on nobody's, we're not dealing with faith and all that. We're not, but we're dealing with science. And the one thing about science is science has something that's very important. They have a hypothesis. And a hypothesis is something that you believe that is going to happen as a result of you're going to do a test later on. But the hypothesis is this, right? And that could be, and basically what they don't, when scientists talk on the news, like Dr. Fauci, they get, when they first come on, they're giving you their hypothesis. Like, okay, this is what I think. And then they go back and look at research. Some numbers may come in and they say, okay, look, my hypothesis, they're not gonna say my hypothesis was wrong, but here's what the new information is, right? So I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, whatever, but if they're only asking me to mask up and stay away from 90 motherfuckers, I can do that. Right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can do that. And I don't think we're politicizing science. And I think that's the problem.
Okay. And so let me jump in lawyer mode right quick.
Okay.
So the pandemic does not take away our constitutional rights.
No, God.
You see what I'm saying? It does not. You still got the constitutional right to receive or to reject medical treatment. You cannot make me get a vaccine. I'm vaccinated.
Yes, I can.
Just so everybody knows.
Yes, I can.
No, you cannot. You're trying. You're trying.
Nope.
Lawsuits are coming. Lawsuits are coming.
So
you can't do it.
If you want to work, okay, I'm gonna say this right here. I'm gonna let you talk. But if you want to work for me privately, if like Facebook, if you want to come back to work for me, or you want to go back to work for Facebook, you have to be vaccinated. You are OSHA. I'm giving you a little bit of lawyer mode as well. OSHA, you have the right by OSHA to have a safe work environment. And that's what Facebook and everyone's going to stand on. But go ahead, bro. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. I'm not saying that. Like these companies can do that. They're private companies. You can do it. Right. But I'm saying you have a constitutional right. For most lawyers who were looking at that press conference where I saw Joe Biden, and he was saying, you know what? Social media is the one that's allowing people to post these messages.
Did he say the Facebook or you say the Facebook?
He got it out some kind of way.
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
But here's the thing. Freedom of speech. They can say what they want to say as long as it's not causing like mass hysteria. So if you want to let somebody say something, it's like you can't take our constitutional rights away because of the pandemic. It's kind of like you can make people get vaccinated, just like you said. I mean, the federal government just said it. Like, hey, if you work for the federal government, either you're gonna get vaccinated or you're gonna get tested 2 to 3 times a week.
Yes.
There's always loopholes and stuff throughout the law. That's the fun part of it.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, like, this is just getting so crazy where it's like, now we're gonna blame Facebook because Facebook is telling people that this is what's happening with the vaccine and this and that. It's just, man, it's so much information and so much misinformation that's coming from even like I know with what I do every day, I don't talk in absolutes. When I talk to my clients, I don't talk in absolute because I don't know what's going to happen. Right. So I would appreciate if Dr. Fauci didn't talk to me in absolutes.
Well, no. Again, I think you
because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. I think you're misinterpreting what any doctor or any scientist say on the news. if you listen to them very carefully, and people bang on and people talk about Facebook and all that, whatever. I think Facebook should be very cognizant about what they let information, because people don't read no more. People do not read anymore. They go to
Exactly.
Facebook. So when if you listen very closely to people like Dr. Fauci or any medical professional that comes on air, when they're talking, if they come and say one thing one day, and they come back and say, and they come back and they change it, the first thing they say before they change it says, here's what we're seeing now. They're giving you new information about, okay, what I said before, yeah, I probably said that, but here's the reason why I may change that, because science is allowing them to change that. That's what science is. And I think a lot of people are missing what this problem is. This is not a political issue. This is not a social media issue. This is science. This is medical science here. And if you're dealing, anybody who took any kind of science class or actually read a book, it's important that people read the book and understand about science. The first thing about science is they understand they got an experiment in front of them, which is COVID. We use COVID as an experiment. But when you're working on COVID, the first thing you do before you do any experiment is you have your hypothesis of what you think is going to happen. And that's what you give to the people. Like, okay, this is what it is. This is what we're seeing with COVID. We're still trying to figure this thing out because it's a brand new whatever it is. So now as they go through time, they're doing different, they're working on it and they're finding new information. So I would rather they come out and tell me the new information as a result of scientific study and give me the new information. I'm not mad at a scientist. That's like you getting mad at Apple saying, well, you had this phone, now 2 years later you have another phone. This phone is better because we've done more research to make it better. You see what I'm saying? That's what I think people are missing the point about when Dr. Fauci and other scientists and other medical professionals talk. They're talking to you about new information they have received as a result of scientific study. It's not the end all be all. They always tell you we're learning new information, but here's what we know now. So if you hold a scientist to something that is still going on and you're holding them to that, you're the fool. You're just a fool.
You don't hold them to that, but
you are holding them to that.
It should not change that quickly. Like you should. It shouldn't change daily. It should not change. No, it should not change daily. And if it does change daily, you should tell me something, but you don't need to tell me in absolutes what this is what it is.
What? There's nothing that has changed on a daily basis.
It does.
Give me one thing.
One day. Okay. One day you'll say, okay, the only people who are really getting sick from the Delta variant are people who are unvaccinated. Right. Then you'll come back 2 days later. Well, no, now we have some vaccinated people who have also died. And then you'll come back and say, okay, so
stop right there. So before they say that, what's the caveat they normally say? New studies
I don't care about that caveat. I don't care about that caveat because common sense would have told you before you made that first report.
Science is not common sense, bro. If it was, everybody would be a scientist.
But you have to add common sense into it, bro. You can't just say like this is what it is. No, I mean if the whole country is leaning on you, this is not some kind of small town Midwest smallpox. This shit is affecting the whole world, and we're depending on you to give us the information. And a lot of people are relying on your exact information. Not even going back to, when it first started, say, oh, don't buy no mask. Mask ain't gonna help. Oh shit, go buy all the masks.
Well, again, I think what you're doing, in my opinion, I think what a lot of people are doing, they're not understanding what science is.
You might be right.
And science is so fluid. Science is not static. You know what I'm saying? Just say, for instance, they were going to the moon, right? Before they went to the moon with the Apollo program, they went through the Gemini program and then through the Mercury program, all to get them to the position to go to the moon with the Apollo program. But throughout the whole entire time, they tested different variants of it to get them to a point where they can actually succeed and go to the moon. All I'm saying is that all that is science. There is nothing about science that happens immediately. It's trial and error. You know what I'm saying? You go to you determine what a problem is, and then you try to figure out through study how to mitigate that problem or to how to snuff it out. This is a new thing, and with the variant and all that, if anybody turns it turns a blind eye to science, you are a fool.
Let me ask you a question, though. Let me ask you one question. So, when stuff started opening back up, and Dr. Fauci gave the okay.
What's the problem with Dr. Fauci, bro? Why you on Fauci, bro? I mean, what the fuck has Fauci done to you, dog?
Get Fauci over here then. Look, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
okay, I won't say Fauci.
Okay,
okay.
He's banging on Fauci, man. Like, okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
When stuff started opening back up, and the governor say, hey, now if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. But a lot of people, me included, say, you know what, man, I don't care what they say. I'm going to wear my mask. Because, hell, you can't tell if people vaccinated or unvaccinated because we do have this little thing called HIPAA. That's still in existence, right? They didn't take that away yet. Right. It's coming, but they ain't taking it away yet. So we still got HIPAA. So nobody could, I don't think your employer can say, hey, give me your vaccination card. I mean, they might be able to do that at some point, go through some OSHA loophole. But so I guess in my opinion, not even my opinion, I'm wondering, let me just ask you this. Do you think that was too early?
To open back up?
Yeah, not to open back up, but to say, I mean, it was going to open back up, but to say, you know what, masks are optional. I don't know what they did in Georgia, but in North Carolina, they say, oh, masks are optional if you vaccinate.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm gonna go back to my science thing again. I think we have to the premise of any argument dealing with COVID. Number one, you're dealing with science, and science is so fluid. Science changes every day. Anybody who's known anybody or anybody who's interested in science, I'm vastly interested in science. I love science. I think it's just one of the most fascinating things about humanity is science. And if you done any basic, you have any basic understanding about science, it allows fluidity. Science is very fluid. It's not. It's like engineering and science and all that. You've seen how the cars have gotten better. You've seen how homes have gotten better. You've seen how communication has gotten better. It's all because of science. Because you're going to drastically and learn new information over time through research, through trial and error and things of that nature. And COVID is not immune, no pun intended, from science. It's just another aspect of science that we as human beings, of intelligent human beings, I might add, we have to understand. This is not. There's no absolutes with science. We're putting Dr. Fauci and every other medical professional in a box and say, okay, tell us what is going to happen right now, and they can't do that. And anybody who want Dr. Fauci or any other scientists out there to say, okay, tell us what it's going to do, they can't do that. But I like that they change because they're finding new information. If you listen very closely, they say based off new information, based off new studies. That's the first thing they say if you listen.
Well, let me. Okay. First, you didn't answer my question. That's fine though. Let me keep going. No. My question was it too early? Was it too early?
No, but I did answer your question. I said because of science, it's not fluid. I mean, it is fluid. It's not static. So,
but that's a decision. When you make it, you can't go back and change. If you have to have thought on that. You have to have thought on that decision. You can't say one day, hey, you can not wear masks, and then come back the next day and say you can wear them. Because in that time period, so many people are gonna get sick. But let me say one thing. Let
me give a concrete example why that again proves my point about science.
Okay.
Remembering the late 70s, early 80s, they talked about AIDS and thought and said who got AIDS? Only gay people get AIDS, right?
Right.
Gay men get AIDS. And what they found out later, that's not true. So what happens is through study, experiments, research, they found that it's not true, and it helped everybody else. That's what science is. It's not static. It's fluid.
Okay.
Research.
But here's my little point. With your science, you have to use a little bit of common sense, because what they said was unvaccinated people. They said if you're vaccinated, you are not required to wear a mask.
I get it.
Most unvaccinated people really did not believe that COVID was real anyway.
Right.
So they were not wearing a mask.
Right.
And nobody was going to come up to you in Walmart and be like, hey, you ain't got no mask. Let me see your card.
Let me ask you a question, bro.
Go ahead.
if CNN brought me on and say, hey, Sean, we're gonna bring Sean Carter on from the Podcases to talk about COVID and then just new studies or whatever, and they brought me on, and I started talking about COVID wearing masks, you'd be like, man, shut the fuck up. America would say, Sean, shut the fuck up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I have no business talking about it, and nobody on Facebook has any business.
I agree.
Talking about it. But my point is, if you have a medical professional talking about COVID and what he has seen in the studies to this point, that's what we go with. To this point, this is all they have. They're studying the information that they have, and as time goes on, new information comes about as a result of what? Their studies and their research. So any human being that thinks that this is a end all be all, you should be starting fires rubbing sticks together because you're an idiot.
Bro, the studies were never accurate. Do you remember when COVID first started? You could not take a COVID test. How do you know you could not take a test? You couldn't get a test. So how were your studies accurate? Then 2 months later you say, oh, the numbers are so high. Well, fuck, that's because people couldn't take tests 2 months ago. You couldn't take a test in March, April, or May. Right. You could not take a COVID test unless you was about to die. You had to be not able to breathe, then you go take a COVID test. Before that, you couldn't take a test.
What is a study, Chris? A study is a research is a fact-finding mission. That's all. In layman's term, that's what a study is. So when you quote somebody saying a study, it is not a factual thing. It is a study. Is research still ongoing? I mean,
but you don't have to even be a scientist to know your numbers have to be off because you couldn't take a test. You could not take you literally could not take a test. When COVID first started, I took my boys to the Lego convention. Somebody in the convention had COVID. They said, "Hey, if you were at the convention and you are sick, you can call the health department. When you call the health department, if you were about to die, they say, "Hey, come take a COVID test." If not, you didn't take a test. Okay. So how can you accurately depict our numbers? You can't.
Let me tell you why. Again, when this whole thing came about, there was really nothing to compare it with.
Right.
So if you have nothing to compare it with, or you don't have the specimens or to determine what causes or what it is or how it comes about, you can't test for it. That's what a test is. A test is the result of you knowing more information about something. They didn't know what this really is. So how can you really, they can tell you some information about it. And that's why they were saying, like, the people that are about to die, whatever, come in and whatever, they have some information about it. But now they do have more information about it. So they can go in, there's widespread testing about it. And that's the result of what? Study and research.
Science.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So anybody, all these non-scientist people out here that got D's in science in high school or on Facebook, acting like they know all. They don't know shit. Pick up a book and read it, or you can go and pick up a medical journal and read that, like I do once a week. I go online and read a medical journal from professionals, dog. I don't go on Facebook, dude. I don't go on Facebook and listen to what Jamal have to say about COVID. Fuck that. You're an idiot if you are. I'm sorry. You're an idiot if you on your Facebook listen to Jamal thinking that COVID is fake and the world is flat.
Hey,
Stop that shit.
Jamal is a CNA. He knows what's going on.
Shit,
bro.
Fuck all that, bro. That's crazy. But I hear it all the time. People like, oh, Facebook. Man, listen.